Welcome to The Mask. Most believe friends are your greatest asset. They are wrong. Today we explore the jaws of ingratitude. Just let that sink in for a second. It cuts against pretty much everything we've ever been taught about loyalty and trust, doesn't it? But according to Robert Greene's The 48 Laws of Power, this belief isn't just a little naive, it's actively dangerous. Law 2 is just blunt. Never put too much trust in friends. Learn how to use enemies. Now, this isn't a call to become some cynical, paranoid person. Think of it more like a diagnosis of a cold, hard truth about human nature. See, friendship runs on emotion, right? But power is a cold, calculating game. And when you mix the warmth of one with the ice of the other, the reaction you get is often, well, betrayal. And this quote, wow, it comes from Diane de Poitiers, who is the incredibly powerful mistress of a French king, and it just perfectly captures the dark psychology we're about to get into. I mean, think about it. Who knows your deepest weaknesses? Your quietest fears? Who knows exactly what to say to cut you to the bone? An enemy attacks you from the outside, you can see him coming. But a friend strikes from within. They use the very trust you gave them as the blade. This isn't just some clever old phrase. It's the key that unlocks how intimacy itself becomes a weapon. All right, so here's our roadmap for this journey. First, we'll dive into the psychological trap itself, the jaws of ingratitude. Then, we'll watch that trap snapshot in a tragic tale of betrayal. After that, we're going to flip the whole script and see why an enemy can be your greatest asset. From there, we'll pull these ancient ideas into the modern power game. But, no law is perfect, so we'll look for a crack in the law. And finally, we'll piece it all together to understand the art of wearing the pragmatic mask. Okay, let's begin. To really get this law, we need to be almost clinical about it. We have to dissect what happens to a friendship when you put it under the intense, distorting pressure of power and ambition. And this isn't about your friends being bad people, not at all. It's about the dynamic of friendship itself and how it's uniquely vulnerable to a very specific and very human poison. And that poison is envy. I love this definition. Unhappy admiration. It's not just wanting what someone else has. No, it's this deep, painful feeling that their success is somehow a personal insult, a spotlight shining on your own failures. This is especially potent between friends because you usually start at the same place, right? You're climbing the same ladder together. And suddenly their rise, seen up close, becomes this constant, nagging reminder of where you're not. And envy isn't loud. It's a quiet, corrosive acid that eats away in the shadows, often disguised as helpful advice or concern, right up until it's ready to bite. And this leads us to the core problems. First, friends hate conflict. They'll tell you your terrible business idea is genius just to avoid an awkward conversation. They'll hide the hard truths you desperately need to hear. Second, getting a big favor, like a job, can feel less like a gift and more like a heavy debt. People want to feel like they earned their spot. A handout from a friend implies they couldn't have made it on their own, and that creates a quiet resentment. The historian Tacitus wrote that gratitude is a burden and revenge a pleasure. When you do a big favor for a friend, you actually unbalance the relationship. You create a hierarchy, and that just poisons the equality that friendship needs to survive. And of course, as we just saw, they are so easily stirred to envy. So theory is one thing, but history? That's written in blood. Let's move from the clinical to a real-life cautionary tale. This is the story of how a lifetime of generosity was repaid with a dagger in the dark, the ultimate proof of this law's brutal logic. This is the tragedy of the Byzantine emperor Michael III and the stable boy he called his best friend. Just look at how fast this all goes down. It is breathtaking. It starts in 856 AD. A wild horse bolts, the guards freeze, but a young, super strong stable boy named Basilius jumps in and saves the young emperor Michael's life. Michael is just overcome with gratitude. He sees a loyal, simple, powerful friend. So he brings Basilius to court, and for 10 years, he gives him everything. He takes this illiterate peasant and sends him to the best school in the empire. He buries him in titles, land, and gold. He makes him his #1 advisor, ignoring all the warnings from his much more competent uncle, Bardas. But here's the thing. The more Michael gives, the more Basilius wants. The gratitude just curdles into ambition. By 866, Basilius convinces Michael that his uncle Bardas is a traitor. Michael, totally blinded by friendship, has his own uncle murdered, and Basilius takes his place. Now the power has shifted. By 867, Michael is short on cash and asks Basilius to repay some of the insane fortune he was given. Basilius just refuses, flat out. The ingratitude is now totally in the open. A few weeks later, Michael, after a long night of drinking, stumbles off to bed. He wakes up to find soldiers standing over him, and in the doorway, holding a torch, is Basilius, watching as they stab his friend and benefactor to death. The next morning, Basilius parades through the streets with Michael's severed head on the end of a pike. And this is the core lesson. Michael thought his kindness would buy him loyalty forever, but instead it created an insatiable appetite. He didn't just give Basilius gifts, he gave him a front-row seat to the throne, a taste of ultimate power. Every favor wasn't seen as a gift to be thankful for. It was just more proof of Basilius's own greatness. The gratitude became this heavy burden that he needed to erase. And the friendship? It was a blindfold, preventing Michael from seeing the monster he was building, piece by piece, until it was way too late. Okay, so if Michael's story is the ultimate warning label, let's flip the script and look at the masterclass. We're going to pivot from the danger of friends to the strategic power of enemies. In 10th century China, which was just a mess of civil war and betrayal, one guy broke the cycle. Let's talk about the founder of the Sung dynasty, which ruled for over 300 years, Emperor Sung. I mean, just look at this. The contrast could not be more obvious, right? On one side, you've got Michael III. He ran on emotion, on the naive idea that gratitude was a shield. He gave a friend power and got murdered for it. On the other side, Emperor Sung, a pure strategist. He understood that the powerful generals who helped him win, his supposed friends, were now his biggest threat, so he neutralized them. And then he systematically turned his old enemies into his most loyal supporters. The result? He ended a nightmare cycle of coups and founded a dynasty that lasted for centuries. So how'd he do it? His playbook was a 3-step masterpiece. Step 1, neutralize the friends. He invites his top generals to a huge party. After they're all nice and drunk, he tells them how terrified he is that one of them will be forced to overthrow him. So he offers them a deal. Retire now, and I'll give you vast estates and all the gold you can imagine. The next day, they all resigned. He turned a pack of wolves into well-fed pets. Step 2, forgive his enemies. When he conquered a rival kingdom, he would honor the defeated king instead of executing him. One rival, Chen Shao, was brought to the capital. When Sung let him go home, he gave him a little package. Inside was all the evidence of Chen Shu's plots against him. The message was crystal clear. I know everything you did, and I'm sparing you anyway. And that leads to step 3, create unquestionable loyalty. See, a friend you promote feels entitled, but an enemy who expects to die and gets mercy instead, they feel a profound, genuine gratitude. They have everything to prove and no secret resentments. They become your most reliable people. And you know, this quote from Abraham Lincoln just nails it. This is the ultimate power move. Destruction doesn't have to mean annihilation. Real dominance comes from conversion. You don't just beat an enemy, you absorb their strength, their knowledge, and you make it your own. That is the genius of using enemies, not just crushing them. Okay, so we've been hanging out in ancient Byzantium and China. But what does any of this have to do with you right now? The battlefield has changed, for sure. It's boardrooms instead of castles, startups instead of empires. But the human element, the envy, the ambition, the ingratitude, that stuff is exactly the same. Let's translate these strategies into the 21st century. And this is where it gets really timeless. Look how cleanly these ancient tactics map onto modern business. Take crushing your enemy. In the digital world, look at Facebook versus Snapchat. Mark Zuckerberg didn't just compete with Snapchat's Stories feature, he copied it, cloned it, and jammed it into Instagram, WhatsApp, everywhere. He made Snap's best idea a basic commodity, starving its growth. Or how about using enemies as fuel? Steve Jobs was a master. The famous rivalry with Bill Gates wasn't just personal, it was a branding strategy. By painting Microsoft as the big boring corporate giant, he defined Apple as the cool rebel brand. He used his enemy to build his tribe. And finally, that core lesson from poor Michael III, work with competent people, not comfortable people. Hiring your college roommate as a co-founder feels great, but if they don't have the skills, you're not just risking the business, you're planting a seed of resentment that will explode the second things get tough. So far, we've explored a pretty cynical, but let's be honest, pretty pragmatic view of people. But is that the whole story? I don't think so. No law is absolute. It's time to find the cracks in Law 2's armor. We need to look at some counter-arguments, and then we'll explore the single darkest, most manipulative way to use this law imaginable. So we have to just ask the question directly. Is the world really just this endless chess match of betrayal and dominance? Is being constantly suspicious the only way to be safe? Green makes a really compelling case, but it's based on a world of absolute monarchs and life-or-death court politics. Does it really hold up in our more complex world? This brings us to a powerful scientific counterargument. Game theory, specifically, shows us that in the long run, and life is a long run, the most successful strategies are not ruthless betrayal. They're cooperative. Strategies like tit for tat, where you start by being cooperative and then you just mirror what the other person does. This builds trust and creates win-win situations. In the real world, a proven friend, someone with a long, verifiable track record of mutual support, can be your most valuable asset. The key word there is proven. Blind trust is a weakness, for sure, but blind paranoia is a prison.
But then we get to the law's reversal, its most chilling twist. Green points out that sometimes a friend is the perfect tool, not in spite of their loyalty, but because of it. If you have some dirty work to do, a loyal friend might just do it for you. Even more sinister, if a plan goes wrong and you need someone to take the fall, who's better than a friend? Their affection for you makes them a plausible, even willing scapegoat. And if you betray them, most people find it hard to believe you'd be that cold-blooded, which makes your friend look even more guilty. This isn't just about avoiding friends anymore. This is about seeing friendship itself as another potential weapon. It's the moral abyss at the heart of the raw pursuit of power.
So, where does all this leave us? Stuck between a cynical law that says trust no one and a cooperative ideal that can feel dangerously naive. This brings us to our final act, the synthesis. The real takeaway isn't to become a paranoid hermit or a gullible dictum. It's about mastering one crucial art, the art of prudence. This is the whole key. Prudence. It's not paranoia, it's reason. It's a disciplined ability to see the world as it actually is, not how you wish it was. It's the skill of understanding powerful forces like envy and ingratitude without letting them consume you. It's about strategic awareness combined with emotional self-control. It's knowing when to trust, who to trust, and exactly how much to trust based on their actions, not just their words. That is the ultimate skill in the game of power. So here's the bottom line. Mastering Law 2 doesn't mean you have to live without friends. It means you have to build a firewall between your personal life and your professional strategy. Keep your friends for actual friendship, for joy, for support. But when it's about work, power, ambition, you have to work with the most skilled and competent people you can find, whether you like them or not. You have to understand how corrosive envy is and never, ever underestimate it. And remember that your reputation is a fragile asset. You have to manage it as carefully as your money. In the end, it really comes down to this. The wise man profits more from his enemies than a fool from his friends. An enemy keeps you sharp, a friend can make you soft. And that leaves us with this final, kind of uncomfortable question. This law forces us to see the masks that people wear to get by. It makes us look at our colleagues, our rivals, even our friends, and wonder what's really going on underneath. But the hardest part is it forces us to look in the mirror. In your own life, in your own ambitions, who wears a mask? And is one of them yours?
If you found this exploration of power insightful, subscribe to my YouTube channel, The Mask Theater, for more deep dives into the strategies that shape our world. And please consider supporting my AI startup, Einstein Isles. Thank you for watching.